22 Board of Education meeting to order. Mr. Anagnostou, would you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Mrs. Kilbane?
Here.
Mr. Micko?
Here.
Ms. Stochek?
Here.
Mrs. Hausen?
Here.
We are all present. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we go on with our agenda, I'm going to go through the trouble of using my stopwatch, but I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for 21 seconds for the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, that's on everyone's mind. So I will ask for a moment of silence. So I thank you for that moment of silence. I do want to share, on behalf of the board and the administration, the tragedy in Uvalde is on everyone's minds. I would ask that everyone keep them, the families, the victims, in your thoughts and in your prayers. And while everyone is, as a country, we're all discussing this, what is mindful for me is that as a board and as a school district, we are aware of what's going on, and we will have to think about what we've been doing. I will share that I think as a district we do very well, considering the safety of all of our students, but anytime something like this happens, it's incumbent on us to take the time to think about what we do and what we need to do in the future, and we will do that in the summer. Next on our agenda is our district goals. We have 3 goals: student achievement and growth, financial prudence, and community engagement. We measure all our decisions by those 3 goals. I usually like to share a highlight of one of those goals at these board meetings. And tonight, it happened a little while ago, but it would be remiss for us not to recognize that Strongsville City Schools received Best Communities in Music Education. The distinction was from the National Association of Music Merchants, and this is the 9th straight year our district has earned the recognition. We are one of 738 districts nationwide, one of only 47 districts in Ohio, and one of only 16 districts in Northeast Ohio to be part of that list. So we want to extend our congratulations to the families, the teachers, the staff, the booster clubs, and especially the students who, through their hard work, earned this recognition. So we congratulate them, and it's an example of student achievement and growth. Next on our agenda is recognition, and I turn it over to Dr. Ryba.
Thank you, Mr. Micko. May is an exciting meeting for us as we have a tremendous amount of student recognition, staff recognitions, and celebrating some of our phenomenal staff that are retiring this year. So we're going to start off with, I'm going to ask Ms. Kilbane and Ms. Stochek to go over to the podium for their OSBA student achievement recognitions. And just as we've done a couple years ago now, when students are recognized or staff are recognized, we would ask that you come up on stage to be recognized with us and come pass by as the board would like to share their appreciation and thanks for the work that you've done. So I'll turn it over to Sharon and Haley.
We started this and we realized we wanted to involve the children that were also in Polaris because it's such an important part of what Polaris brings to our school and how well these children do. So tonight, for our last recipient, is Jillian Mego, and she's a medical detective, PLTW Medical Detectives, which I'd like to find out what that actually is. Is Jillian here? Jillian's also in 8th grade. Can you just tell us what, I would really like to know what that is, medical detectives. What do you learn?
You learn parts about the
Here,
body.
talk into the microphone. Talk into the microphone.
You just learn about the body, and you are just able to dissect a brain and an eye, and you also learn about each part and how you would do it properly and how you would be able to use that and into the professional world.
Thank you. Thank you. I put her on the spot there. Great job. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you, Jillian. So as Sharon had mentioned before, her and I are on the Student Achievement Board for the school board. And before we even really knew what that was, we decided we wanted to make it something fun. And I will say, fun tidbit of information is the idea behind it was to be acknowledging and celebrating teachers who make an impact in our lives, whether it be as children or as we grow up. And I see a name over here that's retiring that is one of the reasons that made me want to be in education of somehow, Mrs. Gunlaw. I don't know if you remember me, but I was your student many moons ago. And I saw you in the cafeteria, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is even more important and what it stands for. So this is to acknowledge teachers that go the extra mile. We call it the Extra Mile Award because their principals have helped us to decide that these are some teachers that go above and beyond to create a memorable and engaging learning experience for their children and their students. First, I would like to call up, if Emily Angelo is here, Megan Wolf, Sherry Miller, Stephanie Puma, and then Olivia Stefanik. I'm not sure if Emily, is Emily here? You're here. We're missing somebody from the, Sherry is not here, okay. Emily is here from maternity leave too, so that's impressive. You guys take center stage. You guys stand right here. This is all about you. So each month we have given a different school or two different schools an opportunity to nominate teachers that they feel have gone the extra mile for their students. And for Muraski, we have Emily Angelo, who is the lead title teacher who has single-handedly revamped the title reading program this year with intervention, progress monitoring, and support. We have Megan Wolf, LTS Title I, Sherry Miller, LTS Title I, and Stephanie Puma, LTS Title I. Mr. Griffin wanted to recognize this group of teachers who have come to us this year due to some additional funding available and worked extremely hard to support Tier 2 instruction and increase student achievement in the building. With a surplus of title funds this year, we were able to bring on 3 long-term substitutes for Title I. These three individuals, along with our new title teacher, Emily, have worked so hard with small groups of students, allowing us as a school to expand the number of students that we are providing targeted intervention and support to in the building. They have been absolutely phenomenal, and that is from the words of Mr. Griffin. And that's from Muraski, so can they get a round of applause? And second, we have Sarar, which is right here. They wanted to nominate one of their first-year teachers, music teacher Miss Olivia Stefanik. She has worked this year to build the foundation to how she imagines wants the music program at Sarar Elementary to look from here on out. She teaches musicianship, focusing on the idea that music is much more than singing. She has incorporated SEL, technology, musical instruments, modern-day music, goal setting, technology, and much more into her instruction to appeal to the various learning styles. Her passion and enthusiasm for her subject area are contagious. She plays the ukulele as students are walking into the building and parents are dropping off. She greets her students, she sings to them, she takes interest in what they are telling her. Her ability to engage learners is getting noticed, and it's highly appreciated by staff, students, and parents. And when we went to the building, she went by with musical instruments in a cart, and I didn't even realize that's who we were meeting. I said, who is that? Because she looks like a lot of fun. And another small tidbit of information, when we went into her room with Dr. Razzo, I had talked about how this award meant a lot to me because my mom was a teacher for 41 years in the Parma City School District, and growing up, teachers were always looked at as superheroes in my house, and they still are. So long story short, upon sitting there, Olivia said, "I know you," and I assumed she was talking to Sharon because Sharon knows everybody in the city. But she was talking to me because my mom was her 8th grade American history teacher. And I felt that that was a full circle moment of whatever you believe in, whatever you think. My birthday was this weekend. My dad passed away a year ago Tuesday, and I had been looking for a sign of something of my parents being okay, and walking into that building and finding out that she was one of my mom's students when she was in 8th grade, and that she remembered things that she had learned. She remembered activities she had learned, remembered lessons, and it had made her into a teacher today. I thought was pretty phenomenal to show just how important teachers are in our lives and how they shape the world of tomorrow. So thank you very much. And that is all.
Congratulations, well deserved, great work. Congratulations, great job. Congratulations. Congratulations, thanks for coming. Yeah, yeah.
Do you think we can get a ukulele for our board meetings?
I'm sure we can get it if we can get it to sound good and play it. Maybe we'll have to have Olivia back. So next up, we have, I'm going to ask Ms. Jenna Namick, our DECA advisor and one of our another phenomenal teachers, to come to the stage to share some of the accomplishments this year from our DECA competition.
Hi, everybody. So for is this on? Should be. Oh, maybe I turned it off. I sure did. So for those of you who may not be familiar with DECA, it is an association for marketing students. DECA really prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management in high schools and colleges around the globe. DECA actually has 177,000 members nationwide, 3,200 high school chapters, and 200 collegiate chapters. So it is quite an established, it's been around for a long time program. So we're fortunate to have it here at Strongsville High School. Here at Strongsville, students who are in the 2-year marketing program participate in DECA. Aside from what is learned in the classroom, students also compete at DECA marketing competitions, which consists of a 100-question test and a marketing role play. And their scores are all factored together against those they are competing against. The students take their marketing scenario role play that they're presented with, they develop a creative solution to the problem, and then they present their idea in front of a judge. This year, we had 91 students enrolled in DECA, all of which competed at our DECA district competition in January. Of that 91, we had 62 students qualify to compete at the state competition in Columbus in March. At the state competition, 24 of our students placed within the top 10 of their events. The 14 students that are being recognized tonight placed high enough to earn a spot at the national competition in Atlanta. So we're very, very proud of that number. While not all of the students were able to travel to Atlanta, 9 of the students attended and competed. And this is an exceptional accomplishment that not many students achieve in their high school career. This was actually the first time since the start of COVID that our students had the opportunity to compete in person. So unfortunately, the past 2 years, we were not able to have that. So I'm so glad the senior class got the full experience of an in-person DECA competition. In Atlanta, specifically, students got to network with DECA members from around the country and compete at the national level. I think there were about 17,000 attendees there. Lots of people there for the conference for leadership opportunities as well as to compete. One of our senior students, Christian Slokar, said, "I enjoyed being with my classmates and having a chance to make memories and new friends. I also feel like this experience really boosted my confidence in my marketing abilities. I was happy with how my partner and I did at the national level, and I'm so thankful to have had this experience." Each student here tonight truly embodies what it takes to be a model Mustang, and I'm very proud to be their teacher. So to the seniors here tonight, I'm so proud of everything you have accomplished. Your perseverance and hard work paid off. The juniors, I'm so excited to see what you guys do next year. And thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to recognize these amazing students. Now I would like to call them up individually and recognize them on the stage. First, we have senior Meredith Klinzing. She placed second at the state competition in quick serve restaurant management. She will be going to Denison University and majoring in marketing. She's not here, but we'll give her a round of applause. Next, we have senior Amani Najjar. She placed 5th at States in restaurant and food management service. She will be attending the University of Cincinnati for criminal justice. Next, we have Naomi Rohrbach. She's also a senior. She placed 1st at the state competition in apparel and accessories marketing. She will be attending Miami of Ohio for business and entrepreneurship. Next, we have the team, seniors Alyssa Merrill and Renee Levasseur. They came in 5th place in buying and merchandising. Renee will be going to Ohio State University for mechanical engineering, and Alyssa to Otterbein University for early childhood education. Next senior team is Christian Slokar and Brooke Zellers. They placed 1st at the state competition in entrepreneurship. Christian will be attending Ohio University for business, and Brooke will be attending Ohio State University for business. Next senior team, George Daddis and Cole Smith. They came in 2nd at the state competition in financial services. They take all the credit for this. I did not teach them that stuff. They're awesome. George will be attending Miami of Ohio for finance, and Cole will be going to Ohio State University for data analytics. Next, we have senior team Joshua Stevens and Jack Vargo. They placed 4th at the state competition in hospitality services. Josh will be attending the University of Cincinnati for information systems, and Jack will be going to Ohio State University for marketing. I don't think either of them are here tonight. Next, we have junior Sophia Kuhar. She placed 4th at the state competition in restaurant and food service management. And lastly, we have junior team May Conlon and Kara Solar. They came in 6th place at the state competition in marketing management. Thank you all again for recognizing us tonight.
Congratulations. Nice job. Congratulations. Excellent. Good luck at school. Good luck at school. Congratulations. 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 So freaking you. Congratulations. I know.
Congratulations. 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 Congratulations.
Continuing on, I'd like to ask high school principal Mr. Bill Wingler to come to the stage to start us off on some recognitions of our students' phenomenal academic achievements, starting with the National Merit Scholarship Program commended students for this year. So, Mr. Wingler. So as he's coming up, I want to let everybody know I cannot see anybody past the first row, so I was hoping Mr. Wingler was here,
Oh, do you want to,
coming to the stage, so
Mr. Wingler,
glad you're here.
do you want to put that over here?
After about the fourth night of these presentations, your eyes start to adjust, I promise. So first, before I talk about the National Merit Scholarship process, I want to say congratulations there's a lot of recognitions going on tonight, and as I've said several times this month, this is my favorite part of being the high school principal, is that basically every couple days I get to honor something amazing by a Strongsville student. And seeing the staff here for Unified, the DECA program, which I had the joy of going down to Columbus and being a part of that. My part was just to sit there and watch, but it was really exciting for me to watch them. And just in general, I think it's underrated how many amazing things happen at this high school. If you show up to half of our May ceremonies, you realize we have a lot of really bright, amazing kids here. So for my part, though, I'm going to focus on the National Merit Scholarship. So National Merit Scholarship sounds like a really cool thing. Those are really big words. But I want to give you an idea of what that actually means. So students, when they take the PSAT, if they get a score, a high score, they basically get moved into being commended. What does that mean? Roughly 4.5 million children in the United States last year took the PSAT and the SAT. Of those, 1.5 million were entered into the potential to be commended. Of those, about 34,000 are commended. So right off the bat, our commended students, which I'm about to announce, are in the top 1 to 3% in the nation. So I'm going to call them up first. When they come up, you're going to receive a certificate of recognition from Strongsville Schools, but you're also going to receive a certificate of recognition from the National Merit. Our first one is Lauren Dunlap. Laura Fogwell. Nicholas Hartman. Henry Joniak. Alexandra Claben. Anya Krishnan. And Amanda Schaefer. Congratulations, these are our commended students. Why don't you guys shake everybody's hand?
Great job. Great job.
Congratulations. Best of luck to you.
Great job.
Congratulations. Best of luck to you. Congratulations. Best of luck to you.
So from those roughly 34,000 students in the country who are honored for commended, they then move on to the semifinalists, which are about 16,000 students. We don't have any semifinalists because the 4 we have moved on to finalists. And what that means is between 7,500 and 15,000 students in the nation, roughly 0.4%. And I want to pause on that, think about that. The next 4 students I'm going to call up are in the top 0.4% in the country for PSAT. The first one is Benjamin Hawk. Jacob Huber. Kristen Johnson. And last but not least, Cole Smith. So before I let these 2 gentlemen go shake all these hands, I just want to say, in addition to the young people that were just up here, I've had the chance to say something nice about these 2 guys about 600 times in the past 5 weeks. You know, it's such a small world living here in Strongsville. I watched Cole, who is a testament to hard work. He was cut as a freshman, I think, basketball, and then we're like basically all conference as a senior, or pretty close to it, all conference later on the team. So if you think that being smart, it is a gift, no doubt, but it's also about hard work. Mr. Huber, I've run into probably more this month than ever. I ran into him on Saturday at a orchestra concert at Baldwin Wallace for his little brother, and has a very talented family. So, you know, it's always nice to be blessed with being tall if you play basketball, and smart if you go to school. But make no mistake, the people that came up here tonight are some of the hardest working kids I've ever met. So please give them a round. Absolutely.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Congratulations.
And our final national merit recognition is for a special scholarship, which pretty much the same criteria I've described. In order to be qualified for this scholarship, your score has to be in the top 1% in the country. And a finalist for that scholarship is Ms. Zoe Zilstra. Thank you, and I just want to say to all of you seniors that achieved all these honors, it's been my pleasure to get to know you the past 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Wingler. Next, I'd like to ask our athletic director, Mr. Denny Ziegler, to come up to the stage to present a recognition for one of our students of the year. So, Denny?
Thank you, Dr. Ryba. I want to call it Mackenzie Schultz right now, and I will talk about her. So I am a co-chair of the LLS, which is the Leukemia and the Lymphoma Society, and they have a Students of the Year program. And what we do is we actually recruit students to become leaders in their school as well as in their community, and they help raise funds for the LLS. So as a member of that co-chair, part of my role is to recruit some highly qualified students that we feel are going to make some great leaders moving forward. So I came into this role back in 2020, and I kind of just sat back and I watched for a year about how things ran or whatnot. And then this year I took a more active role in it. So I reached out and I nominated Mackenzie for this role. So Students of the Year, you know, as I stated, is a leadership program where the LLS Society actually goes and they train students on how to become leaders. They want students to go out in their community and raise funds for LLS. They teach these students leadership capabilities. They actually have them go into businesses and to ask them for money, and they teach them how to do that. So from the time that Mackenzie came on board in October of 2021 until the final gala, which was in March of 2022, the students are able to go out and they can solicit money from local businesses and from larger places, but the actual Students of the Year campaign, meaning they can't actually raise these funds until the second week in January. And then the campaign is a 7-week campaign that takes them from January until March. And during that time, during those 7 weeks, every student that is part of this program has to go out and try to raise as much money as they possibly can. It's a large task. And having been with a lot of students and seeing kind of how they come in as kind of fearful and how they grow into become exceptional leaders is something that I am very grateful for. And I saw that with this young lady right here. Starting in October and sitting on some Zoom calls with her leaders from the LLS, her mom, her dad, she went and she created a team Stand Up Strongsville. And really, she took it more than just herself, that, you know, she created a team of roughly 37 to 40 people, and she was able to have them all be part of this and raise money. And I'm proud to stand here and say that although she wasn't named the Student of the Year as raised the top dollar, as a group of 32 schools in the Northeast Ohio region, they raised $1.2 million in leadership. It is the most out of any LLS region in the entire country, and that's what we're proud of. And I can say sitting here that Mackenzie raised the third most dollars this past year at over $85,000 just by herself. She was only one of 3 students in Northeast Ohio that was able to get a meeting with the Cleveland Clinic Foundation and was able to obtain a substantial donation from them. So with that, I recognize Mackenzie Schultz as this year's Strongsville High School LLS Student of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Next, I'd like to ask our Director of Student Services, Andy Trujillo, to come up. And as Andy's coming up, you know, what a phenomenal night for Strongsville City Schools to just celebrate wonderful educators, to celebrate the accomplishments of our students, the giving and service attitude that Mackenzie shared. And I'm so proud to be a part of this district. And I would say I'm not going to steal any of Andy's thunder, but I'd probably say that this unified sports program is one of the things that I've been most proud of what this group of adults has brought to our school district. It's just been truly impactful. And so I'll turn it over to Andy to kind of share what this was and celebrate our staff that brought it to life here in Strongsville.
Thank you, Dr. Ryba. And it truly is a pleasure to welcome to you our Unified Sports folks. If you can make your way up while I say a couple words. If you don't know what Unified Sports is, it's a national program that kind of falls under the umbrella of Special Olympics, where it's all about inclusion. It's about students with disabilities getting together with peers to compete in sports to represent their schools. It gives kids a chance to represent their schools, kids that normally wouldn't have that opportunity. And it really is a phenomenal program to experience. A highlight of my school year was seeing this in person. As you go to the high school and you see the school band get together in the hallway. They start playing in the hallway. The kids go through the hallway, and there's a huge clap out before they get on a bus and they go. And I got to go and see John Marshall High School in Cleveland compete in basketball, and then to see all the schools from around join forces to come together. And you go to another school and you see their cheerleaders out there, you see their band out there, you see their band teachers and everybody out there. It's just amazing to really see. And then I got to see kind of Kevin Sapera, our intervention specialist and basketball coach, talking to all these people from other schools. The network that he brought to our school district was phenomenal, and he had the idea to say, hey, can we try this? And I said, I never heard of it, sounds phenomenal, do it. And then these great educators here joined forces, got on board, and the time and energy they put into it, and to see the opportunity it brings our kids, the smiles on their faces, the enthusiasm, is just unbelievable. And then to see our kids out there helping each other, it's just beyond words for me. It was really a phenomenal experience. So, Kevin, if you could just take a moment and come on up and just say a couple things, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy. This was definitely a team effort. Unified Sports has been around for, I believe, 3 or 4 years now in Northeast Ohio. And when we got the chance to bring it to Strongsville this year, we jumped right at the opportunity. This year throughout Unified Sports, we had 20 athletes and 20 partners participate on our teams, which included a cornhole team, flag football, basketball, and track. So I'm going to actually name some of I'm going to name the kids that participated. The athletes that we had were Rocco DiStefani, Kyle Eppel, Nathan Bailey, Josh Snyder, Sophia Said, Anthony Petruski, Gavin Borelski, Brooklyn Horvath, Jacob Weber, Paige Applegate, Caden Hudson, Landon Pankuch, John Kohler, and Manoa Thatcher. Our partners included Mackenzie Schultz, who was here and just got recognized, Mikey Lepowski, Ava Kandris, Lauren Hausum, Dean Rigi, Jack Vargo, Maddie Fortuna, Alex Lee, Pete Rajas, Michael Novak, Lindsay Zawi, Ryan Krempa, Sarah Zool, and the entire track team. The highlight for our program was we were able to host 2 events this year. In our basketball event, we had 11 teams come here, and we couldn't have done it without the support of our administration. Bill Wingler gave us the okay on everything that we wanted to do. We worked through any hiccups that we had. Our staff, all of these guys up here, Coach Stahl and Coach Lou, we have our girls head coach and our boys football coach, and they were as included as they could possibly be. They jumped at the opportunity and wanted to get their teams involved as well. And we look at building what we obviously did this year and making it better. And we don't see this ending anytime soon. It's something that we really enjoy putting our time and our energy into. And Our basketball event last year was a very special event, and we want to make it better every year. And we want to invite more people, and we would like to see the board there as well. And what makes it special is the way our student body acted and conducted themselves and how they interacted with our teams and the players of other teams. It just really brought out the best in everybody. And it really aligns with the 3 goals that you were discussing earlier for Strongsville City Schools. And I'm really proud of our team. And like I said, it's a complete group effort. And we're really excited about the future of what we can do with Unified Sports. Thank you.
So I just want to make sure we recognize everybody that's here today. Thank you for your leadership, Kevin. We have Dawn Thaw, who is educational aide. We have Chris Gieskin, who's an intervention specialist at the high school. Brittany Leonard, intervention specialist at the high school. Rachel Griffin, intervention specialist. Coach Lou Serino, and social studies teacher at the high school. And Cheryl Bezub, transition coordinator, department chair for special education at the high school. Thank you for all the work you've done.
They're just going to move that way. Great work. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Great work.
Can you tell how well the students were able to follow directions? Hey, that was phenomenal. Great job. Next, we would like to move on to one of our favorite things every year is honoring our retirees. So I'm going to ask Jenny Pelko, our Assistant Superintendent, to go to the podium to recognize our retirees for this school year. Jenny?
Thank you, Dr. Ryba, and I just want to kind of echo your sentiments. What a testament to our teachers tonight and all of the wonderful things that they are involved in. I just can't help but think of our model Mustang and all of the skills that we're building as we do these programs and the things that we're empowering students. We're going global, we're collaborating together, and what great models we have for our students. And you can obviously see we struggle with how do we measure these skills, and I think tonight we saw that our students are definitely excelling and persevering through whatever it is that they want to do. So congratulations to everybody. And now, it brings me a little sadness to know that some of our best educators this evening are retiring, but I want to recognize them. It's just my honor to be able to recognize our 2002 retirees. Among the 4 of them present tonight, they have over 100 years of experience educating the students of Strongsville City Schools. I can't even begin to total the number of students you have taught over those years and influenced, and I'm sure made lasting impacts on them. Your experience and dedication will be greatly missed. And at this time, I'm going to call up Mr. Mike Scott, who is our Strongsville Education Association president, and he is going to help me in honoring these special people tonight who are present. First off, I'd like to congratulate and bring on up to the stage Deanna Gunlaw. So Mrs. Gunlaw was hired in 1987 at Center Junior High at the time as an English teacher. And after a number of years, she began teaching social studies, which she currently is still teaching. We were just in her classroom today, and she's still going strong. Up until tomorrow will be the last day. Deanna is so kind and patient. Her calm demeanor is one that is respected and appreciated by both staff and students. Her classroom is so engaging due to her love of history and student learning. She builds meaningful relationships with students and deeply cares about them as individuals. Deanna has gone above and beyond throughout her years here at Strongsville City Schools. She has coached, she has supervised, she has mentored, and is viewed really as a leader among her colleagues. She started the Give Back tradition during the holiday season for families in need, which has helped countless families over the years and raised probably, I don't know, I was guessing, Deanna, like over $50,000, but I'm sure you have the total. I'm sure you have it somewhere, but it's probably way more than that. She is so detailed and oriented in nature and organization, and she's just so thoughtful. It's like she just does it flawlessly. It's amazing. And in my years as her principal, I never heard Deanna complain. Instead, always came with a solution and brought joy and excitement every single day. She embodies just such wonderful character and integrity and truly models what it means to be a Mustang. Deanna, I have watched your children grow up and graduate, and they are a true reflection of you and maybe of Chris just a little bit as well. And now it's your turn to go and enjoy all that you deserve. Thank you for being that continuous positive force. Next, I'd like to recognize Becky Pollock. Mrs. Pollock began teaching physical education at Chapman, Whitney, and Allen Elementary at the time in 1997. She then continued teaching at Zellers, and then Center Middle School, and then Strongsville Middle School, and finally at Sarrar. That's a lot of places, Becky, a lot of students. Becky continually strived to make health and fitness a priority for her students. She has a great ability to make things relatable and meaningful for students and connect with them in a positive way. She's also, over the years, collaborated with our DARE program and Operation Keepsake to help teach students to make those positive choices. Becky is a model for what it means to give back to others. Prior to getting into education, Becky served her country as a member of the United States Coast Guard. She goes above and beyond the classroom by teaching private swimming lessons and also volunteering at Jacob's Ladder, a nonprofit designed to teach students with special needs the benefits of regular exercise and healthy choices. However, as you can hear, I believe, her passion was just born a little while ago, and she has a new grandchild. And so we wish you many years of health and happiness. Thank you so much, Becky.
Congrats. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Next, I'd like to recognize Mrs. Allison Rafter. Allison began her teaching career in Strongsville in 1998 as what used to be called a small group instructor. In 2002, she began working in our ASAP program with students at risk. Allison is an amazing educator who continually goes above and beyond for her students. She has guided, coached, been a mom, a dad, a positive influence, and a listening ear, and probably a million other things that I am not mentioning for students who have experienced unthinkable trauma or have needs that extend far beyond the traditional classroom. I would say the magic she has provided was all based on the positive relationship that she has with her students and is able to establish with them right off the bat. She would spend countless hours thinking of creative ways to help her students earn their diploma. She would even go as far as to drop off and pick up work for her students and still stays in touch with them far after high school. Allison is the ultimate advocate for her students. She has such a passion and heart for what she does every single day, And she is also a model of collaboration, having to work with co-teachers and aides and administration and parents regularly to get the entire team to support a child. So thank you, Allison, for your relentless dedication and support. And thank you also for teaching PE. I forgot that part. You teach PE on occasion and even in the summer, so thank you for that. Congratulations. We wish you well.
Congrats and joy.
And finally, Crystal Tackaberry. So Crystal has been our district nurse since 1999. She has been through many transitions with how we serve our students with medical needs and our staff our clinics. However, her most recent work over the last number of years establishing a contracted service to staff nurses in every one of our clinics and even one-on-one nurses as needed is something that should make you very proud. Crystal has been an unbelievable asset to us in her time here. However, I would say over the last few years, she went far above and beyond, helping us to navigate through COVID, working with the Board of Health, giving guidance to nurses, to parents, our trainers, principals, and especially me, is appreciated, and I could have never COVID coordinated without her at my side. I'm going to take a lyric she shared with me away from country singer Jordan Davis and his song By Dirt, and now call it the Crystal quote, "Do what you love, but call it work." I know if Crystal didn't live by this every day, she would not have been emailing parents at 10 p.m. and later to answer questions, filling out that COVID spreadsheet at midnight after working a full day, or jumping in to contact Trace to help free up our administrators on top of all of her regular nursing duties. Thank you just doesn't seem like enough. I hope you know it has been an honor to work with you, and your replacement has big high-heeled shoes to fill. I hope you find a new home soon in South Carolina and are able to trade in that snowblower for some nice beach chairs. Congratulations, Crystal. And so just one more time, I do want to extend congratulations to all of our retirees and to all of you that were here tonight. And one more thing, yes, you have to show up for the last day tomorrow. You can't skip out on that. We appreciate all your contributions to our district, and we really wish you all the best in your retirement.
Mr. Micko, before we move on with the agenda, although not under recognitions, as you remember, the board gave support to have a new position in our district, the Assistant Athletic Director, and that's on the agenda later on tonight, but his wife and young children are here, so I thought it would be a good idea that we share with the board and announce our new Assistant Athletic Director, so I'll turn it back over to Jenny.
Thank you. And Jason, if you want to come up. Join me up here. So I want to introduce Mr. Jason Kepler. Jason has served wait, I wrote it down so I remember the exact title if I can read this. Athletic Supervisor and Assistant Park Supervisor at the Strongsville Rec since 2007. You know, I think we were very fortunate to steal you from them. I know they have big shoes to fill over there. But Jason already is just, I think you've been in my office more just preparing for the role and getting everything going so you can be hitting the ground running. We're just thrilled to have him as part of our district. I know he's been a long-standing part of the Strongsville community for many, many years, and it's fortunate because you know a lot of our parents and our students, and I just know that you're going to do very well working with Denny Ziegler, our current athletic director, and Bill Wingler, the principal, and also our middle school principal, Jessica Boydum. So you've got a lot of stuff, and I know you're excited for it, and we're just thrilled to have you on board. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to be real brief. I know there's lots of stuff to cover tonight, but I wanted to start by thanking the board for valuing athletics in the district as strongly as you do and voting to approve this position. I'm more than honored to serve the district as its first assistant AD. I also wanted to thank Dr. Ryba, Jenny, Bill, Denny, and Jeff and Paula for picking me to be the district's first assistant AD. I promise you guys I'm going to work relentlessly to make you all proud. So thank you guys very much.
Congrats, good luck.
And with that, Mr. Mickel, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ryba. It is odd, and I have a better understanding of what it's like to do a play, because you really can't see anything except all the bright lights. But as a district, we're always proud to recognize our students, our teachers, our staff, and look forward to what the future is going to bring. And I did like that in this meeting we kind of had a story to tell, and we told the story of our students, we told the story of our teachers, and we're also telling the story of the great things that are going to be coming tomorrow, and we're excited for all of that. So I wanted to congratulate everyone. This is normally the time I tell everyone that if you still have homework to do or anything else, it's a good time to escape, and we'll continue our meeting. And next on our agenda is public comment. I do have one slip tonight from Beverly Jones. I know you're an old hand at this, Bev. Name and address, and you have approximately 3 minutes.
I have approximately 6 minutes? No, just kidding. My name is Beverly Jones. I am 15134 Camden Circle, Strongsville. And I want to say hello. I'm here yet again to help us maintain the kind of excellence we saw here tonight. I'm so proud to be a person that sent my own kids all the way through Strongsville schools, and I was so proud of the teachers and the students that are representing tonight. They're representing us so well. I don't even need to say that. So I'm proud to be from Strongsville and be a part of the Strongsville community. However, there's some things, you know, when you put a lot of humans together, sometimes you get some conflicts. And there's one thing that greatly concerns and frustrates me from the last time I was here, which I missed a couple of meetings, but last time I was here, one of our citizens told us about a story of some bullying that had gone on. And it was a disturbing incident involving some bullying that evolved into cyberspace, you know, one of the situations we have to learn how to deal with. And of course it grew and it involved several other students. You might remember that parent that was very distressed. And the student, and it caused a lot of emotional distress, fear, and conflict. Now, on a great positive night like tonight, I hate to bring this up, but we do have to deal with these things too, okay? And I'm glad that this woman shared her story, because I felt as grieved and disappointed, perhaps even as the students' parents did, because, and it's a long story, but I've been through it too, okay? But the difference, although I felt bad about what happened with the bullying incident, and the other person that was telling it felt bad too, we agreed that it was awful and should be stopped and should not be allowed, and we should have a community. That's what we want. But the ways that we want to approach it might be different. Now, I've been here before, and I want to give you, I gave you 2 tips. Okay? Tip 1 was don't separate our students by labeling a whole group as guilty and another as victims. And my slogan there was, separation is segregation. Tip number 2, I came back in March and I said, please don't waste our students' time dealing with social issues when the main purpose is to make them academically competitive and superior, which we saw tonight. Okay, we got to keep that going to keep this excellent and not get sidetracked on other things. And my slogan there was, time is money. Tip number 3, okay, because there's surges in internet capabilities, sometimes above all of some of us older people's heads, okay, we're seeing things we didn't see 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Okay, so we have to be quick to attack any problems and resolve them. How to do it? Here's tip number 3. Bring in the students involved, bring in their parents, and hammer out the resolution early. We know that. You've been doing it. You've been bringing in your principals. You've been doing this. And it does work on a case-by-case basis. Tip number 3, case by case. So let's teach all of our students that they are all good people, capable of making good decisions. And let's deal with the trouble on a case-by-case basis. Let's not blame everybody for everything. Let's keep it case by case. So 2 quick questions before I leave here. I understand that there's been a diversity council that's been going on for a few years, right? A couple years. And I hear that the contract is going to be running out. Question number 1, will that contract be renewed? Question number 2, if it is, where will the money come from and how much? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bev. I can share with you that the contract is a board-level decision, and we'll make those decisions at a public meeting, and you'll find out when we find out. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes. I have the April 4th, April 14th, April 28th, and May 11th Board of Education meetings. All district video and audio recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes, and all minutes are available on our website. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hausum, second by Ms. Stavcek. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Ms. Stachek?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes, and the motion carries. Next on our agenda is our treasurer's report. I know I am as excited as everyone else, and as part of that presentation, the board will go into the audience so that we can watch the video.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. As you stated, Ray will bring the screen down if the board can go to the audience, and I'll transition to the podium as well and get set up. So. Ray, is there anything I need to do on my end that plugged in? All right, thanks, Ray. Good evening, everyone. So this is the biannual presentation of the 5-year forecast, and I think we got it for two board members. It's the first time that they're going through this, so just a little background. By law, the 5-year forecast must be presented and adopted by the Board of Education twice a year and submitted to the Ohio Department of Education in November and again in May. The way I like to do the forecast, and since our fiscal year is a July through June fiscal year, for the November forecast, I like to tie it to the annual budget as close as possible with adjustments of any trends. And as the year progresses, we compare the financials. To the November forecast in the monthly financial board supplement report that I present at the other board meetings. For the May forecast, since it's close to the end of the fiscal year, for the current fiscal year 22, I trend out the remaining months for salary and benefits, but still assuming a good portion of the non-personnel budget can still be spent. For the upcoming fiscal year, which will be fiscal year 2023, this begins the budget planning for next school year. Leading up to the forecast in the month of April, I have held budget meetings with the departments and school buildings to review their budgets and needs for next school year. I have also met with Jenny to review staffing needs for the upcoming school year due to building enrollment. And as you'll see in the forecast, the general fund positions will be increasing by 7 positions for next school year, which is due to additional staffing needs. And also, we had a social worker in the wellness funds, and those funds were shifted over to the general fund so that the social worker, their funding will be on the general fund. And then also, as we met Jason, the new assistant athletic director position. So the presentation is broken down in 4 sections. We have our major assumptions. I'll review the general fund revenues, the general fund expenditures, and then the 5-year forecast summary at the end. The major assumptions, property taxes is our biggest revenue source. And with property taxes, there's also a collection rate. And what that collection rate is, the county sends out the bills to the property owners, and the collection rate is what percentage of the bills are collected back and paid by the county, which is then distributed to us as part of our tax revenue. Our 3-year average is 98.85% of all tax bills collected back. So that is the average for the forecast for the current year moving forward. Last year, we were at 96.85%, which was a decrease from the prior year of 99.49%. So as our tax collections come in, we'll continue to monitor that. The next major assumption is the assessed valuation. And the assessed valuation is how much the property in the county is valued, and that's what drives the property tax collections in the sense of what gets billed to the property owners. In collection year 2022 was a triennial budget year for Cuyahoga County. Residential values increased by 15.74%, and commercial values increased by 1.59%. Is a net number through the valuation. However, commercial values also decreased. Overall, commercial values decreased by 2.2% through change in class for a total decrease of 1.61% or 0.61%. And part of that is, as we talked earlier, as we talked in prior board meetings, with the sale of the mall, that was a $42 million decrease in valuation, which drove that, but it was offset by a 5% increase in overall valuation in commercial property. And then also the last piece of property of public utility, and public utility values increased by 1.78%, which was the lowest in the historical period. So the forecast assumes a 6.4% increase, which is the historical average of the annual increases. So again, we'll continue to monitor the public utility increases throughout the years. The next major assumption, again, I already touched on it, is the mall. And part of the mall, there was a tax refund that is included in the forecast for this fiscal year of a $2.5 million refund, which was for tax years 18, 19, and 20, and that has been finalized by the county. And then we have the two renewal levies. In May 2019, residents approved the 5-year, $5.9 mil levy with collection beginning in January of 2020, and the forecast assumes that the levy will expire in December 31st, 2023, with collections continuing through December 31st, and collections will continue through December 31st of 2024. And then in November of 2021, residents renewed a 5-year, $6 mil levy with collections beginning January of 2023. The forecast assumes that this levy will expire in tax year December 31st, 2026, with collections continuing through December 31st, 2027. And for the one that expires December 31st, 2023, and the collections continue to 2024, next November is the first year that we can go back on the ballot for it. So in November of 2023 will be the first time we can be on the ballot, and we'll have till November of 2024 to have it approved if we would like the levy to continue. State funding, as I've been talking throughout the year, in fiscal year 22, state funding is calculated based on the fair funding formula, which was approved in this biennium budget, the 22-23 biennium budget under House Bill 110. It dramatically changed on how schools were funding from the previous formula. Overall, we saw expenditures decrease because of the pass-through for community schools, scholarship vouchers, and other deductions taken out for other districts are no longer passed through the school district. So we saw expenditures decrease along with certain revenues for those, which made up the pass-through. But overall, our combined net impact was a gain of $1.1 million for 2022. And as the formula continues to be updated, I'll continue to update through my monthly reports. And as part of the formula, we're still a guaranteed district for this fiscal year. As part of the fair funding formula, there's unrestricted revenue and restricted revenue. Overall, our funding increase, the two combined, increased by $1.1 million. What's restricted is the success and wellness funds. Those were funds that we received under the previous biennium budget, but they had to be accounted for in a separate fund. With the fair funding formula, they just were as part of the fund as a restricted amount. So those expenses are now shifted over from the previous fund to the general fund. Career tech education, restricted for $36,000. DPIA, which is disadvantaged pupil impact aid, $46,000, and the restriction there is we pay one of the allowable uses for that is the SROs. So that is applied to that line. And then there's a gifted requirement, which is new. It's $225,000 for us, and we meet that through our gifted teachers. Staffing, as I mentioned, from fiscal year 22 to 23, we'll see a 7 FTE increase within the general fund. In fiscal year 22, we saw a 7 FTE increase from 21, and then from 2020 to 2021, we saw a 9 FTE increase. And then you'll see in fiscal year 25, FTEs will increase by 12 positions. And that is, the forecast assumes that the 12 additional positions are coming into the general fund as ESSER funds will expire for these positions. So these positions are now currently ESSER funded, and as those funds expire, in a board meeting, a few board meetings ago, we had a discussion on the ESSER funds, and we talked about which funds were, or which positions were likely to remain when ESSER expires. So those are the FTEs that I assumed in the forecast that would carry over. Healthcare premiums increased by 3% in fiscal year 21. For fiscal year 22, the district experienced a 1.37% increase. And for fiscal year '23, we will experience an 8.7% increase, and the forecast in fiscal years '24 to '26 assumes an annual increase of 8%, which is what we had also in the fall. Again, you'll be approving or will be on the agenda later on in my section for the 8.7% increase. Our healthcare claims were higher this year, which drove the increase. We had a good run in the previous years. We had a 1.37% increase last year, 3% the year before, and a 0% the year before that. But as these cycles, this was our bad year. Hopefully it's just one bad year, and we don't see this continuing in the out years. So if it remains under 8%, we'll see a savings to the forecast, but if it's over, then those costs will increase. So something to continue to monitor, and we're continuing to work with our insurance committee to try and implement programs to drive our claims down, which keeps the premium lower. And then just historical data during fiscal year 20 and 21, the district experienced certain cost savings with certain categories, substitute costs, overtime, and the associated benefits for those salaries due to the school closures. And as we resumed normal operations, those costs will increase. And then purchase services is forecasted to decrease by $1.4 million from 21 to 22, and the decrease is due to the implementation of the fair funding formula. And then from 21 to 22 for materials and supplies, the forecast anticipates a $756,000 increase due to unspent and budget savings from the previous year. And then capital outlay makes up, about 50% of it is made up through the district's technology one-to-one initiative. We did have some, in the prior years, we did have some additional increases for COVID. Due to the pandemic in fiscal year 21, we saw salary and benefits increase by $600,000 for Remote 2.0 and SES Connects. We had Strongsville Learning Academy that was funded out of ESSER for fiscal year 21 and 22. And for 23, some of those expenses are coming back to the general fund as we're continuing the amendment program. PPE supplies and equipments, the operations budget increased by $250,000, and custodial costs increased by 31 hours. And then in fiscal year 21, due to the closures, we saw an increase in the food service transfer of $455,000, and then also athletics of $78,000 due to increase due to lost ticket sales. What's not in the 5-year forecast, but I did want to touch on it, is all the COVID-related grants that we received and how we've been utilizing those dollars. I think it's important as we might see some of these additional costs, but letting the community know where those funds are going and how they've been utilized. So in the first round, we had ESSER 1, $400,000 was utilized for kindergarten Chromebooks, Chromebook cases, Solo. We had the coronavirus relief funds of $285,000, which was utilized for PPE supplies, materials, and equipment. We had the broadband connectivity grant of $21,000, which was utilized for public Wi-Fi and transportation and hotspots. And then we had the CARES Mini grant here at the high school for $3,000 for an online digital catalog. ESSER 2, which we begin utilizing and begin in this fiscal year, and it runs through next fiscal year. And also ESSER 3, the combination of those is $6.1 million. ESSER 2, in fiscal year 22, we're using $1.3 million. We had a COVID coordinator, cleaning equipment, educational technology, and assistant principal, second step curriculum for guidance counselors, summer learning, the MTSS coordinators, additional middle school band and orchestra support, additional intervention specialists, special ed coach, and the 5 lab software. For ESSER 3, for fiscal year 22, we used $1.1 million, and ESSER 3 runs through fiscal year 2024. We have the async learning platform, the letters training, educational technology, and additional guidance counselor, elementary before and after school supplements, 2 elementary reading specialists, secondary math coach, MTSS software, an elementary ELL teacher, and a gifted coordinator. And for fiscal year 2 and 3, we just touched on this on a previous board meeting, but this is how the remaining funds are going to be spent for the next 2 years. So going back to the general fund revenues, where our monies come from, our largest source, 61.9 million or 74% is property taxes. The next biggest source is state foundation of 8.4% or 10% of the revenue. Then the state of Ohio reimbursements, which is the homestead and rollback of 6.4 million. Then our TIF revenues and other revenues. Local taxes for fiscal year 22, we did collect $57.8 million. For fiscal year 23, we'll see projected an increase to $60.3 million, which is an increase of about $2.5 million. And a good portion of the increase is due to the refund that lowered property tax collections for this fiscal year. Sorry, I was going without my notes, but I'm going to go with my notes with the next section. Public utility, as the percent of the assessed valuation is increasing, the historical increase was about 6.7%, and with that public utility revenue, it's not subject to the House Bill 920. That rate stays the same, and we saw about $107,000 increase, or we're projecting $107,000 increase between fiscal year 22 to 23. State foundation, we saw the dip in between 2021 to 2022 to the change in the fair funding formula, and then in the out years it continues to stabilize with the slight increase. And the slight increase is due to how they're funding transportation, where it's funded at 25% right now, and each year they're increasing the percentage slightly as the out years progress. State foundation restricted. Prior to the House bill, or prior to the fair funding formula, the only restricted funds were for the career tech and the DPIA. With the fair funding formula, now it also includes the wellness funds and the gifted, which is the increase for restricted. Property tax allocation is the homestead and rollback. That's pretty consistent. Other revenue is made up of preschool tuition, kindergarten tuition, tuition from other districts, interest income, sports paid at play, special education catastrophic aid, Medicare reimbursements, and revenue in lieu of taxes. In fiscal year 2022, we're going to collect or close to collect 6.3 million. In 2023, it's a decrease to 4.8 million, and the majority of the decrease is in the TIF category, payment or revenue in lieu of other taxes, and it relates to the mall because the mall's valuation change. It's just being shifted out of this bucket into property taxes. Other financing sources. Last school year, we collected 1.3 million. This year, we're collecting about 500,000. The decrease from 21 to 22 is regarding the BWC refunds and dividend payments that we received. Those were one-time dollars. And fiscal year 22, the amount there is mainly due to refunds of prior year expenditures that we were able to charge back certain items to the COVID dollars that the general fund paid for, and the amounts in 23 to 24 are just placeholders for a refund of prior year expenditures and also return of advancements from other funds. The refunds from the BWC and some of those other one-time dollars can't rely on every year, so if we get them, they're just additional to the forecast. General fund expenditures. What makes up where our money goes? Our largest source of expenditures is salary and benefits, which is 83.9%. It did go up a little bit, and that is because purchase services went down due to the expenses that were to other schools are no longer there with the state funding formula, so that is why that increased. Overall, 63.4% or 63.4 million. Purchase services make up 8.8% of the budget, while materials supplies make up 3.1, equipment about 1.3%, and other objects about 3%. Salary and benefits were projected to spend about, or salaries were projected to spend about 45.4 million, and next year we'll see an increase about 2.5 million to $48.1 million. And the increases are due to our negotiated agreements and as employees progress through their salary schedules. Benefits increase in fiscal year 22 projected to spend 17.9 million, and next year an increase to 19.6 million, and the increase again is to the 8.7% increase in the healthcare costs, and then also the fringe benefits include the benefits for associated salary expenses. So as salaries goes up, those benefits go up as well. Purchase services, we're projecting to spend 6.7 million in 2022, and it'll increase about 700,000 to 7.4 in 2023, and that increase is mainly due to utilities is going to increase about $100,000. The high school SRO position, we'll be paying that position, reimbursing the city, and that'll be about $100,000. RAS Kids renewal, it's an every 3-year expense. It's about $100,000. Edmentum, that's moving on to the general fund. That's about $200,000, and then an ELA and math screener at the middle school program, which is about $100,000. Materials and supplies, we're estimated to spend about 2.3 million this school year, and next school year estimated to spend about 2.5 million. What makes up this line is instructional supplies, about 400,000, office supplies about 61,000, textbooks. This year we're projected to spend about 437,000. The budget line is about 496,000. That varies year to year depending on the adoption. Our educational software, 297,000. Fuel, this year we're projecting to spend 300,000. Next year in the budget, I have 350,000, and same with the out years. And how I came up with that is right now, as gas prices have increased, we're averaging about $35,000 a month in fuel, and we run our buses about 10 months, so 35,000 times 10 months is how I came up with the 350,000. But as gas prices have been a little volatile over the past few months, we'll continue to monitor that, and as when we do the forecast again in November, we'll take another look at that number if it needs updated. And building and cleaning supplies, it's 372,000 that is budgeted. Capital outlay, projected to spend about $1 million for this year, and half of it is, again, due to the technology one-to-one initiative. General fund debt, that's pretty consistent. In 2025, we have one debt issue dropping off, which is why it's decreased, the amount is decreasing. Other objects, the primary expense there is the county auditor fees, where we have to reimburse the county auditor to collect our taxes, to collect the tax dollars. It's a little over 1% of the amount collected, and then also included in this number is bank fees, audit fees, and other awards and prizes. And then the last line is our annual transfer and advances. These kind of fluctuate year to year depending on the need. In fiscal year 22, what we're projecting is, for the good news, I think this will be the first time that we'll have a zero transfer to the food service fund. It's a trend. I think we're trying. I can't remember the number offhand, but we're somewhere between 400,000 that will have a surplus there in that fund, which we're using those dollars to upgrade some equipment. The uniform school supplies, we have about $50,000 estimate. It might be slightly less. The termination benefit funds transfer $250,000, Athletic fund, that was a one-time only due to the COVID pandemic. And then we have the annual turf fund of $55,000. And then for this year only, as it was approved at the last board meeting, well, the purchase was approved at the last board meeting. The transfer will be on the one of my agenda items here in a minute, is a transfer to the PI fund from the general fund for the purchase of the copiers. That was approved at the last board meeting. And then for next school year, another one-time item, which we talked about when we went over the ESSER funds, which was a previous extra expense, but we had said we would use general fund, part of the general fund cash reserve to fund is the HVAC system at Kinsner. So we'll do that transfer during next school year. And then with that, those are expenses and how it all comes together. When I submit the forecast to ODE, I have to submit it with the renewal levies coming off and then add in them back to on the bottom to show the overall unencumbered cash. That's how it has to get submitted, but I'd like to show them first with, to get the bigger picture with, assuming the revenues or the levies are renewed. So I'll show this graph first. For this year, if the forecast plays out, our beginning balance was $53.1 million. Our total revenues were $83.4 million, expenditure 75.6, with an over-under cash, revenues over cash of 7.8, leaving an unencumbered cash balance at the end of this fiscal year, $58.9 million. And then as the years progress, our revenues over expenditures decrease. And then in 2025 and 2026, those additional positions are assumed to come on in the general fund, which brings that revenues over expenses down even lower. And then as it plays out, the 50-year projected deficit spend, but a lot can happen in 4 years with different assumptions can change, healthcare costs can fluctuate. So it's just based on the data that as we know of today. And then if the renewal levies do not pass, we'll be deficit spending even faster, and then our you can see how it impacts our cash balance to the point where if it continues to deficit spend, we'll run out of cash. So that's the May 5-year forecast, and I'll let the board to come back to their seats to see if they have any questions. Because you can't see it. So I'll turn it over to the board if there's any questions on the 5-year forecast.
Any questions for George? So I will share that, you know, the thing that is on everyone's mind is the same thing that's on everyone's mind at home. The economy, whether it's gas prices, whether it's the inflation in general. I'm not going to use the R word, so that I don't jinx anything, but those are all in the back of our heads, and those will all could or will have material impacts on our 5-year forecast. But I do want to thank you again, George, to have the numbers and to have them as accurate as they are and always up to date, and we're always thinking about it, allows us to manage the district's finances well, and allows us to meet that commitment to the taxpayer of financial prudence.
And the one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, for anyone at home that is watching that wants to view the 5-year forecast, it is available on the website under Treasurer's Department Financial Reports in the current school year. So it was put on there a few hours before the board meeting. Any other questions? No? So moving on, the financial report for the month ending April 30th, 2022, which can be found in Exhibit B. As I touched in the forecast presentation, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that a transfer of funds from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund in the amount of $100,656 be approved for the purchase of district copiers, printers from Ameritech. Item D, amended appropriations for fiscal year 22. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the amended appropriations for fiscal year 22 be approved, which can be found in Exhibit C. Item E, medical and prescription insurance. Talked about it in the 5-year forecast, but be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the medical and prescription premiums medical mutual be approved as presented in the exhibit with an increase of 8.7% effective July 1st, 2022. And that can be found in Exhibit D. Item F is the annual calculation of the full-day kindergarten tuition. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the district sets tuition for the 2022-23 full-day kindergarten at $2,300 per student. In the event the district is moved to remote learning, tuition will be either reduced or a refund will be issued at $12.92 per day. It is further recommended that the treasurer be charged with collecting tuition and preparing tuition contract for parents to pay tuition in a lump sum or 2 annual payments. The treasurer may also grant parents a $50 reduction if tuition is paid in full prior to the beginning of the school year. Students qualifying for free lunch may receive a $200 reduction in tuition, and students qualifying for reduced lunch may receive a $100 reduction in tuition. And just for me to add on how this is calculated is we look at our staffing costs for next year, divide that by 2, and then divided by the number of kids that are enrolled for full-day kindergarten is how we come up with the amount. So it's 50% of the cost for the additional full-day kindergarten versus the half-day. Item G, as we talked about our board retreat, the Board Docs Pro Management System. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the contract between Strongsville City Schools and Board Docs Pro Management Systems be approved as presented in the exhibit at a cost of $10,600 per year. Frontline Education, Forecast 5 contract renewal. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the contract between Strongsville City Schools and Frontline Education, formerly Forecast 5 and Analytics, be renewed in the general fund of $70,170 effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. These are annual programs that we've had in there for the financial planning, analytics, budget management analytics program, the student analytics lab subscription, which is formerly 5 Lab, ASOP, or absence and substitute management, and frontline applicant tracking, which is our hiring process. And those can be found in Exhibit F. I also have 2 items for student services for North Coast Therapy. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the Board of Education enters into a contract or an agreement with North Coast Therapy LLC to provide occupational and physical therapy services for school age and preschool students with disabilities for the 2022-23 school year per the attached Exhibit G. And then North Coast, again, for the extended school year program. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the Board of Education enters into agreement with North Coast Therapy to provide occupational and physical therapy services for school age and preschool students with disabilities for extended school year as shown in the exhibit. And then I also have an addendum with 3 items. A new fund for fiscal year 22. We received and in conjunction with item K as well, we were awarded a school bus grant with the Ohio Department of Education as part of their annual budget. It was awarded in February. As part of the award to accept it, we had to provide bids and quotes, so we had to let that process play out with the Ohio Schools Council, and you'll see under Business Services, those bids will be presented to you. But we needed that information first to be able to accept the grant from ODEs, the replacement of 3 buses, and we are receiving $45,000 per bus for 3 buses, for $135,000. So item J is to create the new fund, and K is to accept the grant. And then item L is an invoice order approval. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that in accordance with ORC for after-the-fact invoices, that the board approves the following invoice for payment and the treasurer be authorized to sign the fiscal certificate. And with that, that concludes my report.
Any questions for George? Thank you, George. Dr. Ryba, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. I have 2 items for your consideration under the superintendent's report for the month. The first is the administrative handbook, and the second is the leadership handbook. These, just as the board is well aware, but for our community, we have contracts with our union employees, our Teachers Association and our Support Staff Association. These are contracts or the guidelines of employment for our non-union employees. So administrators are certificated staff and leadership are non-certificated. It's for the next 3 years. Each of those years contains a 2% increase, which is the same level of increase all of our other employees get, as well as some changes to medical insurance coverages for those employees. So be resolved upon the recommendation, my recommendation that the administrative handbook and the leadership handbook be adopted for the period of August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025. With that, we'll move on to business services, and I'll ask our operations manager, Steve Bruckner, to come to the podium for his report for the month. Steve?
Good evening, everyone. I'll pause, let the applause die down. Thank you. Student accident insurance. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the proposal of Guaranty Trust Life Insurance Company through Love Insurance Company as a student insurance program for the Strongsville City Schools for the 22-23 school year. Be it further resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, that the following be adopted. All students participating in interscholastic and intramural activities shall either purchase the appropriate insurance coverage or present a waiver signed by the parent or guardian. Such waiver shall release all in authority or in charge from any liability resulting from medical claims, and that is Exhibit I.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Ms. Stavcek. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Ms. Stavcek,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries.
The second item on the agenda, under business services, is the vendor managed supply program. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education enters into an agreement between Strongsville City Schools and ALCO for the vendor managed supply program as stated in the exhibit for 1 fiscal year in the amount of $49,140. Funding to be from the general fund, supplies and materials for custodial, and that's found in Exhibit J.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Mrs. Stavcek. Any discussion? Steve, just as a reminder, this takes care of all of our custodial supplies, our soap, our tell us what it takes care of.
All right, I'd be more than happy to. So it takes care of all the chemicals, the soap, the disinfectant, those types of supplies. Also takes care of like mop heads, the pads that go on the bottom of all of the scrubbers and everything of the like. So the purpose of the managed system is that we do pay a flat rate every month that adds up to that amount. If we're under, then we do receive equipment or supplies. If we are over, that's just part of the agreement that we have with ALCO, that they then eat that extra cost. In years past, we've been under. This year, as predicted, and as you could probably predict, we were over with the amount of chemicals, but we didn't pay more than we had contracted with them. So this program has benefited us in both scenarios.
And from a cost standpoint, it allows us to budget our costs and keep them even month to month.
Correct. And we are isolated from any kind of flux that happens with the chemicals as well.
Any other questions? Take the roll.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Ms. Stavcek,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries.
The third item is HVAC maintenance agreement. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education enters into an agreement between Strongsville City Schools and Gardner for an HVAC maintenance agreement for Strongsville High School as stated in the exhibit for 5 years, May 1st, 2022 through April 31st, 2027, in the amount of $13,660 per year, funding to be from the general fund, and that is Exhibit K.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Ms. Stavcek. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Ms. Hausum,
Yes.
Ms. Stochek,
Yes.
Ms. Bissell,
Yes.
Ms. Cobain,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries.
Item number 4 is the bus bid awards from both the Permanent Improvement Funds and the School Bus Purchase Grant. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that bids be accepted for 1 72-passenger conventional school bus chassis and body and 2 handicapped accessible buses, or referred to as minibuses, as received by the School Bus Cooperative Purchasing Program of the Ohio Schools Council, as listed in the exhibit. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that bids be accepted from Myers Bus Sales and Services for 1 72-passenger conventional school bus chassis and body and 2 handicap accessible buses or minibuses. Funding shall be as follows: 1 72-passenger conventional school bus chassis and body and 2 handicap accessible buses or minibuses provided by the Permanent Improvement Funds and the School Bus Purchase Grant in the aggregate principal amount of $367.16.
One more time?
Sorry, $367,016.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Ms. Stavcek. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Ms. Stochek,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Ms. Cobain,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries.
And the last item, the 5th item under this section, are gifts to the district. Ken Green donated a sound system and speakers valued at $2,500 to the athletic department of Strongsville High School for use in the weight room. And Chartwell's donated books, Lunch Lady 2-for-1 Special, The First Helping, Books 1 and 2, to the Kinsner Elementary School Library. And that is it.
Steve, do you have to be a student at Kinsner to take those books out?
I believe so, or we do have a
The
great
title has me very interested.
We do have a great inter-district mail distribution program, so it could be reserved if needed.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next with the curriculum report for the month is our Director of Curriculum, Aaron Green.
Good evening. I have 3 items tonight for your consideration. Item 1 is always an exciting one. As shown in Exhibit L is our potential graduates list. So be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that that list of potential graduates be approved to participate in the Strongsville High School commencement ceremonies on May 29th, 2022. Final approval is contingent upon successful completion of all requirements for graduation. So we are excited and proud of our class of 22 graduates that we will honor and recognize Sunday. Item 2 is an overnight trip for Strongsville High School varsity, junior varsity, and freshman cheerleaders. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, permission be granted to those groups, high school varsity, JV, and freshman cheerleaders, to travel to Bowling Green, Ohio, July 23rd through 26th, 2022, to participate in UCA Cheer Camp at Bowling Green University. They will travel via school bus, expenses paid by the students, and from fundraising activities. Item 3 is actually an overnight trip, not an out-of-state trip, so I wanted to make that change. And again, it's an overnight trip for the Strongsville High School girls varsity soccer team. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, that permission be granted to the high school girls varsity team to travel to Cincinnati, Ohio, to participate in soccer competition September 2nd through 3rd of 2022. Again, they will travel via school bus, expenses from Adidas National Soccer Showcase proceeds.
Thank you, Aaron.
And I was just going to share with the community, if anybody wants to review the list of graduates, they can drive through the high school driveway and see the list on the wall, and it's pretty inspiring.
Next with our student service report is our Director of Student Services, Andy Trejo.
Good evening, members of the board. First item I have for you tonight is Power School Group LLC from the general fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, that the Board of Education enters into an agreement with Power School Group LLC to provide performance matters, advanced reporting, and RTI MTSS for the 2022-23 school year in the amount of $18,755 per the attached exhibit, Exhibit M. Second item, Power School Group also, LLC, from the general fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education enters into an agreement with Power School Group, LLC, to provide special programs in Section 504 for 2022-23 school year in the amount of $13,620.30 per Exhibit N. And that is our software program for special education. Items 3, 4, 5, and 6 all read the same with corresponding exhibits O, P, Q, and R. Kids Link School, LLC, General Fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education enters into an agreement with Kids Link School, LLC, for placement of students with disabilities for the 2022-23 school year in the amount of $86,000 per the corresponding attached exhibits. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Next, our Assistant Superintendent Jenny Pelko will share the Human Resources report for the month, and there's also an addendum for this one.
Thank you, Dr. Ryba. Again, we've been pretty busy in Human Resources, so I'll try to fly through this report. Maybe it'll be shorter than George's report. I don't know. I'll try. Under Human Resources, under E1, we have the retirement of a certificated staff. I do want to congratulate Kathy Preachers. It was kind of a last-minute decision for her, and I know she wants to keep it private, but congratulations to Kathy. She's done a phenomenal job for us as well. Under E2, resignation of a certificated staff member and a resignation for non-certificated summer school clerk. Under E3, non-renewal of contracts are certificated substitutes. This is something we typically do each year. We non-renew the certificated subs, and then we'll shortly thereafter be sending letters to them to continue with us for next year. Under E4, appointments for certificated staff. Appointment for non-certificated staff, appointment for home instruction tutor, appointments for certificated substitutes, appointment for non-certificated summer learning clerk, appointments for certificated athletic supplemental contracts, appointments for non-certificated athletic supplemental contracts, appointments for extended school year for our certificated staff. And Mr. Micco, this is where I have to make one change. It does say paid at $33.39 per hour. It should read $34.06 instead. Continuing under E4, for our extended school year, we have non-certificated staff to be paid at step E. Appointments for summer learning for our certificated staff. Continuing, we have appointments for summer learning for our substitutes and also a non-certificated staff. Appointments for certificated supplemental contracts. Appointments for certificated supplemental contracts, which is additional time. Appointments for certificated supplemental contracts, extended time. Under E5, change in status for non-certificated staff. Under E6, contract recommendations for our administrative staff. So we have 2-year contract recommendations for those administrators, continuing with 3-year contracts for those administrators listed. Contract recommendations for certificated staff. These are continuing contracts. Contract recommendations for certificated staff. These are our limited contracts for next school year. Continuing contract recommendations for leadership, we have 3-year contracts. Contract recommendation for non-certificated staff. Under E7, stipends for our local professional development committee. Under E8, medical leaves for certificated staff, medical leaves for non-certificated staff. Under E9, unpaid leave for non-certificated staff. E10, we have volunteer coaches. And then in the addendum, I have 3 resignations under E2, resignation for administrative staff, resignation for certificated staff, and a resignation for a non-certificated staff. Under E4, we have an appointment for our leadership. Again, this is for our Assistant Athletic Director, who we met earlier, and an appointment for a certificated staff. Under E6, one additional contract recommendation for continuing contract. And finally, under E11, we have abolishments that we had discussed previously with our custodians for non-certificated staff. And that concludes my report.
Hey, Ms. Spelko,
Yes, sir.
I think you might have a typo on E4 on page 13. We'll be able to correct it from the floor, so we don't have to correct it at a future meeting.
On page 14, George?
13 on the bottom.
13.
I just noticed it as you were going through it.
Say that again. What is
I
it?
just noticed it as you were going through it.
What is that? What is
That's
it?
for Christina Daria. So it's Christina Daria, kindergarten teacher, effective August 22, replacement for Christina Daria.
Yeah. She was a long-term sub,
Okay.
and she's going to have a permanent position with us.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that
That
was-
is correct. I know it sounds weird, but it is correct.
Replacing her with herself.
She's replacing her with herself. She did that well. So
It's irreplaceable.
Yeah, yeah. She's very happy. Congratulations,
George.
Christina.
I just wanted to.
With that, next we have our technology report, so I'll ask our Director of Instructional Technology, Dave Binkley, to come up to share that, and there's also an addendum for this one.
Good evening. The first two items here are related. The first one is Exhibit S of the Southeast Security Network updates. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the agreement between Southeast Security and Strongsville City Schools to provide necessary equipment and install 30 cable drops in Strongsville City Schools Administration Building and Early Learning Preschool for network upgrades. The total cost is $14,166.76. Item number 2 is Exhibit T, the Network Technology Innovations and Network Updates or Upgrades from the 001 General Fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the agreement between Network Technology Innovations and Strongsville City Schools for network upgrades at the Strongsville City Schools Administration Building, Transportation, and Early Learning Preschool be approved to install and configure new wireless access points. All wireless access points will be replaced with Ruckus R750s, and all programming, heat mapping, and training will be provided. At completion, all district wireless access points will be managed via a single controller. The total cost is $57,152.46. Then in the addendum, I have 3 items. Item number 3 is with Royal Business Equipment for the Esports Lab out of the 001 General Fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the agreement between Royal Business Equipment and Strongsville City Schools for the purchase of 20 CPUs, 24 monitors, 25 HDMI cables, gaming keyboards, and mice be approved to establish an esports lab at Strongsville High School for the total cost of $38,810.75. Item 4 is with Buckeye Educational Systems for the esports lab out of the 001 General Fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the agreement between Buckeye Educational Systems and Strongsville City Schools be approved for the purchase of student stations, an advisor station, a mobile esports table, chairs, stools, and other items of furniture or peripherals as needed to establish an esports lab at Strongsville High School. The total cost should be $31,653.66. And item 5 is an amendment to a previous item. It's the 2021-2022 school year technology upgrades. It was previously, or I'll just read through the rest, I guess. 001 General Fund, 023 Self-Insurance, 1-to-1 Device Fund. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the following amendment to include the additional fund to be made. Amendment to agenda, March 24th, 2022. Item F, technology, the amendment of 2021-2022 school year technology upgrades, 001 General Fund, now amend to allow the use of both the 001 General Fund and the 023 Self-Insurance 1-to-1 Device Fund.
Any questions for Dave? With that, that concludes my report.
Any questions for Cameron? Next on our agenda is report on Polaris Career Center. Mrs. Bissell?
Thank you. I want to share 3 quick things tonight. One is Camp Discovery, which I've mentioned before. It's coming up here shortly in the month of June for rising 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. It's a week-long camp there's various opportunities. So if you have a child that might be interested in that, I think it's $60 for the week. So check out Polaris's website and register your child today. Secondly, Polaris Career Center is one of the 2 recipients of the Middleburg Heights Chamber of Commerce Stuff the Bus event. So if you're out and about in the community this summer and happen to see a drop box, please consider dropping school supplies there, or you can make a cash donation at the Middleburg Heights Chamber website. And the culminating event will be held at Fat Heads Brewery on August 6th. So even though Middleburg Heights is hosting this, our Polaris students have the chance to benefit from these donations, so please consider supporting them. And finally, I want to share congratulations with 3 Strongsville students. They are Alexandria Beck, Mia Davis, and Stephanie Mraz. They are all in the criminal justice program at Polaris, and they're all going to be going to BW in the fall. And we've just finalized a new pathway where if you complete the Polaris criminal justice program and then go to BW, you have 16 college credits when you start. So all 3 of these young women are taking advantage of that and starting college with a big step ahead. And in addition to that, all 3 of them did receive academic scholarships to BW. So congratulations to these ladies for all of their hard work, and we wish them well at BW in the fall. That concludes my report.
That's great news indeed. That's exciting. Next on our agenda is report on legislation. I will comment for the community. About a week ago, 10 days ago, the House did pass House Bill 333, which would require job descriptions for school counselors, and it would require public schools to consider those recommendations when preparing job descriptions and assigning duties for school counselors. I think it's the intent is just to recognize that school counselors do a lot more than school counselors that we remember 30 years ago did, and it memorializes that into the law. And then both the Primary and Secondary Education Committee are working on House Bill 583. One of the primary benefits would be to extend the current flexibilities that we have and other school districts have regarding education requirements for substitute teachers, and it would extend that. And then there's just a lot of what I would call cleanup work with various laws like the dyslexia laws and community schools. And one of the things it requires, going back to the substitute teachers, is a study to understand how big of a problem the substitute teacher shortage could become. So more to follow as more information is released. We have our board liaison reports. City Council, do you have one for us, Mrs. Hausum?
I do. Just 3 things to touch on. This Monday morning, the VFW Memorial Parade will start at St. Joe's at 11 a.m. The parade will process up Pearl Road and end at the gazebo on the Freedom Trail with a ceremony. Secondly, the city is revamping how they do fireworks this year. Fireworks will be held 3 times, the first being on the Friday night of the rib burn-off. The second session will be on the 4th of July. This year, the 4th fireworks will take place on the Commons. From 7 until about 9-ish, there will be inflatables, balloons, face painting, etc., followed by the fireworks. The city would like to tie this into the development of our downtown area and make this a more enjoyable experience for Strongsville residents. Lastly, there will be 2 renewal levies on the November ballot, one for the purpose of constructing, reconstructing, and renovating storm sewers and storm drainage ditches, and the other is for an existing levy to pay for firefighters' salaries and operating expenses for the satellite station at Preem and Albion Roads. And just to reiterate, these are renewal levies, no new taxes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Strongsville Education Foundation?
Yes, the Strongsville Education Foundation did not have a meeting this month, but they have still been very busy. They had their annual Jockeys and Juleps fundraiser at the beginning of May, and it was very successful. A few weeks later, they attended the Senior Salute and awarded many scholarships to our graduating seniors through endowment money and funds they have raised themselves. We thank them for all that they do for our staff and students. And that concludes my report.
It was nice to see everybody at the at the fundraiser, and then shortly thereafter see the good effects of those fundraisers. Strongsville PTA Council, Mrs. Cobain.
Just a couple of things. They are having Rockin' at Strongsville Middle School. That's from 6 to 8:30 tomorrow. If it rains, because it kind of doesn't look great, they will go inside. So I confirmed that today. So that's from 6 to 8:30. They had their luncheon, and they installed their president, Kelly Becker, their vice president, Misty Schultz, vice president 2, Cameron Ryba, treasurer Hillary Yankahella. She's going to hate me for that, I know her. Recording secretary Susan Thomas, and corresponding secretary Jess Koza. I'd just like to thank these ladies. They work hard all year at every school. I'm amazed at what they do. You can't keep up, but congratulations to the ones that are coming back, and if anyone's ever interested in volunteering or joining, they would love to have you. So God bless these ladies. Thank you. Concludes my report.
Thank you. Board committee reports. Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee is working on scheduling our next meeting, hopefully sometime in June.
It'll be in June. We'll have, I'm collecting feedback from everyone. We'll have a date out here shortly.
Policy Committee.
Policy Committee met on May 9th, and you will see here, item 16, we have first readings of a number of policies. The vast majority of them are just to keep up with the legislation and the law.
Facilities Committee, we did meet 2 weeks ago, and we had a presentation from GPD Group about steps that we're going to take to prepare for visioning what we and what the community ultimately will want in elementary schools. So it was a good meeting, and our next meeting is June 21st at 6:30 p.m. I will say that with this project starting to build steam, the Facilities Committee is in search for new members. So if you are interested in becoming a member of the Facilities Committee, please join us at a meeting so you can learn what we do and get involved. Business Advisory Council.
Our last meeting was April 1st, and we talked about that at the last meeting, I believe. Our next meeting is October 7th, 2022, so that gives everyone ample time to put that in their calendars and be there.
Excellent.
And that concludes my report.
Next on our agenda is the consent calendar. Actions by the Board of Education and adoption of the consent calendar at this point of the agenda means all items appearing in the agenda with asterisks are adopted by one single motion unless requested otherwise. Do we have any otherwise?
Otherwise, am I doing this right?
You are doing it perfectly.
We need to remove a name from E3. That would be Aaron Hammond.
Okay. And then before we'll take a motion and then we'll do all the amendments. So do I hear a motion to accept the consent calendar except for Superintendent's Report, Human Resources, Section 3, we're removing Aaron Hamad. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Ms. Stavcek. Any discussion? For our discussion, we already had the removal. We also have a correction. The first correction we have is curriculum number 3. It is not an out-of-state trip, it is an overnight trip. And then we also have Human Resources number 4, the appointments for extended school year 2022 for certificated staff are paid at $34.06 an hour. We also have the addendums in our consent calendar. Any questions or any other discussion? Please take the roll, George.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Ms. Stochek?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes, and the motion carries. We now return to Human Resources. Do I have a motion, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, that the following certificated substitute contract be non-renewed effective May 28th, 2022 for Aaron Hamad? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Mrs. Stavcek. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Ms. Stavcek,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain,
Abstain.
and Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries. Next on our agenda is superintendent's timely information. Anything going on Sunday?
Just a little thing that's we got happening at the stadium. So it's going to be a beautiful day. Weather's working out perfectly. We're excited. First time in 2 years, we're going to have the entire graduating class together. They went through the rehearsal today. Everything sounded great. Everything worked perfectly. And that's just going to be the case on Sunday. So we've got commencement at the stadium Sunday, May 29th, starting at 1 p.m. We're looking forward to have all of our friends and family and students together. Don't forget, you can live stream it as well. So if you have relatives, whether they're in Ohio or not, just go to our website, look for the SCS TV link, and you'll be able to watch it live on our website. And as we've talked about, obviously tomorrow is our last day of school. Just want to thank our teachers, staff, administrators, parents, board for all of your support. It was a little better than 2021, 22, but still had its challenges at the beginning. But we've had an extremely successful school year based on everyone's help and support. It's not too early to put on your calendar that we will be back at it on August 17th.
It is too early.
So August 17th, we'll welcome back most of our students, and then from there, we'll have the rest of our kids joining us to kick off the 2022-23 school year. So with that, that's my update for timely information.
Under board policies, we have first reading for the policies listed. We've all received the results from the policy committee. Please review them and follow up with myself or Cameron with any questions. And we do have Board of Education other. Do we have any others?
I have one. I believe it was in May, on Friday, May 13th, we were invited to the Academic and Social Advancement Programs Growing the Mustang Mindset Learning Garden at Strongsville High School. The children there had been diligently working on learning gardening at the high school for over 2 years. Plans had begun prior to the pandemic, and they pivoted when they needed to. Seeds were planted, and they were watched to be grown. They cooked in class and through Google Meets. A lot of hard work had gone into the garden, and the students and teachers of the Academic and Social Advancement Program are extremely proud of all the growth. When we went there, they had the grand opening on Friday, May 13th, and they were showcasing their garden, their cooking skills, sharing food, and answering the PBL question, how can we successfully manage the growth and responsibility of both the garden and ourselves? They answered questions, they served food. We had delicious breakfast burritos made with vegetables that they grew. The kids took a lot of pride in what they had done and explained what was growing, how long it would take. Some of them said that some of the plants that they had planted will not come to be until after they graduate high school, so they're going to have to come back to see their blueberries and some other stuff. But they were very proud of what they did, and in turn, watching how proud Mr. Brian J. Edmonds was of them, and his own parents showed up to the grand opening, which was a really, really special moment to see just how proud his family was of him for spearheading this. And that is it.
And it really was awesome to the effort, and then to read about it, and for the entire community to enjoy it.
And they made salsa.
And we made salsa.
Can't beat that.
Any others? Did you say you had one?
I do not.
I just wanted to say how wonderful last weekend was, the prom. We had a great Friday night for weather-wise, and the girls all looked beautiful, and the guys all looked very handsome. And a big shout out to our after-prom committee. We had probably almost 400 kids at the rec center until 3 a.m. And they had a great time doing the casino, shopping in the Mustang Mart. It was a luau theme. Our decorations were top-notch yet again. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience to be involved in. So I just want to thank everybody who helped put that on.
And then I have two others. The first other is I just want to, I try to make this a tradition at this meeting, but 2021-2022 school year was a challenging year for everyone. And I wanted to thank the Strongsville SES TV crew. They're a loyal, hardworking crew. Little smaller crew than usual, but they all worked really well, and not just our board meetings, which they should get kudos for having to do, but all the other activities that they record and now are able to live stream, and all our families near and far are able to watch and enjoy. And they actually help create wonderful memories for families and parents for years to come. So I wanted to give a shout out to Sam Chuganoff, Nick Whalen, George Gruel, Matthew Wilkinson, Luke Fearman, Alex Littlejohn, Jack Laraquente, Jacob Hershkovitz, Sarah Smith, Taylor Lucas, Joe Petrino, and a special shout out to Noah Collins, who is not a Strongsville student, he's a graduate, but he still volunteers his time to live stream and record, video our events. But they all are another example of our Mustang mindset and are terrific examples of giving time and talent to better our district and our community. So I wanted to give them a shout out and a thank you from the board. And then my other one is, obviously Monday is Memorial Day, and besides being the unofficial start to summer, it is Memorial Day. It is the day that we remember all those in all of our military services who gave their life for our country. Back in December 28th, on December 28th, 2000, the Congress passed the National Moment of Remembrance Act, and I like history, and I looked into it, and they did it because they felt that too many people didn't know the real reason for Memorial Day, and it had become just the unofficial start to summer. It was just a day off, and so the only purpose, or not the only purpose, but the purpose of the act is to ask all citizens on Memorial Day at 3 p.m. to take 1 minute to remember the sacrifices our military made in service to our country, the ultimate sacrifice, but to take that 1 minute and observe a moment of silence to remember the meaning of that day. So I ask everyone in the community at 3 p.m. on Monday to take that 1 minute. And that's my other. Anybody else have anything? Meeting notification. Thursday, June 9th, 2022, 7 p.m. We're back at the admin building. And then we have our regular Board of Education meeting Thursday, June 30th, 7 p.m., back at the administration building. We do have reason for executive session on the topics of
To consider the employment and discipline of a public employee, and to confer with an attorney for the Board of Education concerning disputes involving the board that are subject to pending or imminent court action.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Third.
Motion by Mrs. Hausum, second by Mrs. Cobain. Any discussion? Hearing none, please take the roll.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Socek?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
The motion carries. We will enter into executive session at 9:25. We have no expectation of further business. Please have a good Memorial Day, and thank you for your attention.